on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Also, while at my page, click the link at the top to get our latest retirement guide. As we head into the final stretch of 2025, a lot of people are reflecting on what the past year has brought and what the next one might hold. Maybe you've been thinking about big life changes, like when to finally step away from that 9 to 5 and start enjoying the retirement you've worked so hard for. But deciding when to retire is deeply personal choice, and timing can make a big difference in your financial confidence and long-term comfort. So today we're going to talk about a few signs that retiring in 2026 might not be the best move, and why giving yourself just one more year on the job could set you up for a smoother, more secure transition into retirement. You know, I read that some people plan to ease into retirement by cutting back to part-time hours. I tried to do that once, and my boss called that showing up late. Before we get started, let me bring in my co-host, Tony Shore, who swears they've been easing into retirement since the day after high school.
Oh, you got me there. Guilty as charged. No, in fact, as long as my voice holds out, some might call a career in radio and voiceover work retirement anyway. I mean,
living the dream every day of your life, right?
Yeah. Some people would say he's never worked a day in his life. But seriously, though, I think a lot of people are asking that question right now. Is next year the right time to retire? Can I retire soon? Do I have to wait another year? If you're thinking about retiring soon in the next year or two, I think this is going to be a great show for you and even others. I mean, we're all headed toward retirement. We're either headed there or in retirement.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to have a lot of great lessons that you've got for us and strategies to deal with that. But first, I have to say, Thanksgiving weekend. The show is airing Thanksgiving weekend. We're recording it just before Thanksgiving. So what do you have planned? Are you going to, first on my list, I'm just going to go first, overeating.
Got to.
And gratitude toward friends, family, and just grateful for everything and everyone. How about you?
Yeah, we're hosting this year. We have about 35 chairs set up in our detached garage right now. So it's going to be a big crew there. My wife's side of the family, we're hosting, and we are cheating this year though, Tony. We're having it catered from a little cafe called Hillcrest in Hamburg there.
Oh, area. Nice. So, yeah.
We usually go there, but this year we decided to host it and just have it catered in. So,
well, that's fun. That's really great. That's great. And it's great, like you said, traditions.
Yeah. It's something we do every year with her side of the family, and on Thanksgiving Day. And yeah, it's a great time of the year to be thankful for what you have and the people in your life. So,
yeah. So no Windham in the plans, your hometown of Windham? Are you?
No, we're not going to make her back. There? No, we talked about maybe getting back there and doing a little pheasant hunting or something like that. And meeting up with some family, but with everybody's in-laws pulling them different directions, we're not going to make it back this week.
Yeah. I'll be going through there on my way to Fulda and Worthington to see the folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The folks are now in Fulda and at the home there, and then go out, check out our farm, make sure everything's okay down in Worthington. So that's fun. But yeah, and spending it Thanksgiving Day itself, I'll actually spend with my wife's brother and his family. We're going over there, which is awesome because his wife, Chris, is the most amazing cook. So there'll be quite a spread there, but it's going to be fun hanging out with family. Yeah. Back to our topic today. Do I need to wait to retire, or can I retire soon? And I think this is really an important conversation.
And during our conversation today, Tony, we're going to be referencing an article from USA Today, 3 signs you should wait another year before retiring.
Right. And so let's jump into the first sign that retiring next year or soon might not be the best move. And that's if you're not totally comfortable with your savings. I would imagine that's a biggie.
Yeah. And again, there's no magic number that guarantees you'll have enough money in retirement. Everyone's situation is different. Lifestyle, their health, where you live, and what you want your retirement to look like all play a role. So I get a common question is, Ashton, how much money do I need to retire? And everybody thinks it's, it's going to be $1 million. Well, again, it does vary between each individual situation, but a simple way to check your progress is to estimate how much income you'll need each year, and then subtract your expected Social Security benefits, and then multiply that difference by 25. and that'll give you a good ballpark for how much you should have saved. So again, an example of this, let's say you expect to spend around $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month in retirement. Social Security might cover $24,000 of that. And so that leaves you $36,000 that needs to come from your own personal savings, whether that's 401k, IRA, other retirement accounts, or just savings accounts. And then you multiply that number. So you multiply that 36,000 that you need by 25, and you're looking at roughly $900,000 in savings. And so that falls back to that 4% rule. 4% of 9,000 or 900,000 is that 36,000. But we also want to factor in taxes on that piece too.
And I'm glad you gave us some examples there and an example of how that can work. So if you've hit that target, great. But if you're falling a bit short, that might be a sign you're not quite ready to clock out for good, right?
Yeah, that's right, Tony. It's worth running the numbers to see where you stand. If your nest egg isn't as large as you hoped, working just one more year can make a real difference. Not only can you keep contributing to your retirement accounts, but you'll also give your existing savings a little more time to grow. And then if you're really far off from your goal, even that extra year or two of saving might not completely close the gap. But here's the good news, Tony, is delaying that retirement also means you can delay claiming Social Security. And each year you wait beyond your full retirement age, your benefits increase by 8%, and that's for life. So that's a powerful way to help make up for smaller savings balance.
That's a great point. So even if the numbers aren't exactly where you want them right now, a little bit of patience, a little more time in the workforce could really pay off down the line. So the next sign that retiring in 2026 might not be ideal is if you're not eligible yet for Medicare. You're not quite there yet, and there's a gap then between when you'd quit working and when Medicare would kick in.
Yeah, that's a big one. A lot of my clients have to wait to 65, or, a lot of Americans, I guess, to 65 for that health care. Can be one of the largest expenses in retirement. And if you retire before you're eligible for Medicare, you could face costly coverage gap. Medicare eligibility typically begins at that 65. And so if you'll turn 64 in 2026, you're close, but you'll still have a year to bridge there. And so for a lot of people, 65 is the number.
Yeah, and that's really important to understand because that is very expensive. I mean, that 1 year, even if it's just a year, it can be surprisingly expensive, right?
Yeah, it really can. You might be able to stay at your workplace or on your workplace plan through Cobra, or you can purchase your own plan through the marketplace. Both options can be pricey, and that could mean dipping into the savings earlier than you planned. And that's never a great way to start off your retirement.
No.
And so Medicare isn't free either. If you are that 65 and qualify, you'll still have costs like premiums, deductibles, and copays. But in most cases, it's still more affordable than trying to go and buy a private policy on your own.
Oh, yeah. So if you're just a year away from that Medicare milestone, waiting to retire until you're officially eligible, like you said, it could save you a lot of money and a lot of stress.
Definitely. That one extra year of work could help you avoid big financial strain and step into retirement with more confidence and health coverage that you can count on.
So we've talked about savings and we've talked about healthcare costs, but this next one, I think it's a little more personal. It's when you realize you don't really have a good idea of what you're actually going to do with all your time in retirement. Yeah. That's a biggie, isn't it?
For sure. And it's true. Most people often focus on the financial side of retirement, the dollars and cents, but emotional and mental side is just as important. Having all that free time sounds amazing until you realize you don't really have a plan on how you're going to fill your time. You might love the idea of not having to report to work every day, but too much downtime can be a problem as well. It's best not to retire until you have at least a general sense of what your days will look like.
Yeah, I mean, because those first few weeks of sleeping in, catching up on shows, reading some books, you might start thinking after that, now what, right? And you need to have a purpose.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you can't quite picture your retirement routine yet, that might be a sign to work another year. Use that time to explore new hobbies, volunteer opportunities, or even a side hustle that excites you. Sometimes those part-time projects turn into fulfilling second acts. And don't underestimate that social side either. Over the course of a year, you might meet like-minded people who share your interests, people you can travel with in retirement, garden with, or just play music with.
I think you make a good point. Retirement isn't just about stepping away from something. It's stepping toward something else. It's a new beginning.
Bingo. Yeah. Retirement is one of the biggest transitions you'll ever make, both financially and mentally. So it's not a decision to rush into. If any of those signs sound familiar, whether your savings, your health care, timing, your readiness for the next chapter, it might be worth rethinking your plan to retire in 2026 and just giving yourself a little more time. So let's push forward through our conversation about strategically holding off on retirement by next considering an article from Investopedia. It's thinking of delaying your retirement. You're not alone. Most people over 50 are pushing it back.
Yeah, a lot of people are. And again, I think for anyone who's listening out there, they might be realizing retirement could be a little further away than they originally planned. They're definitely not alone. That's the key, right?
Yeah. And in fact, a recent survey shows that a lot of adults approaching retirement are making the same decision, and that's to work longer than they once expected. And it's not just older workers, even younger generations are starting to think early retirement might not be realistic for them.
Right. And that's something we've been hearing more and more about, people adjusting their expectations. You might have to adjust your timeline, and that leads to making sure you're working with a trusted financial services professional to make sure that you're making those adjustments to your timeline and knowing where you're at.
And there's plenty of reasons, again, that people might delay that retirement, like health coverage, lifestyle goals, or just wanting to stay active. But for most adults over 50, it really does come down to savings, whether they're just trying to reach a target number or make up for lost time. Staying in that workforce a little longer can help strengthen that financial foundation.
So it's not necessarily a setback. It's a strategy then.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it, Tony. Delaying retirement, even by a year or two, can give you more options, more confidence when you finally do decide to make that move.
And I wouldn't make that move without working with somebody like yourself, Ashton. I really think it's important. And so far, we've talked about how and why people might delay retirement, but who's actually delaying retirement? So do you have any information on that?
Yeah, it's a terrific question. Numbers might actually surprise you, Tony. Nearly a quarter of people approaching retirement say that they're thinking about delaying it. And that's according to a survey done in 2025 from F&G Annuities and Life. And get this, almost a third of people who already retired say they are considering unretiring or returning to work.
Ooh, a third of people thinking about jumping back into the workforce. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. And among Generation X, who are roughly between ages 45 and 60, as many as 54% of those who retire early say they're rethinking about going back to work. And this pattern shows up in other research too. There's a survey done by Western and Southern Financial Group. That was shared in the article. And they found that average Americans expect to retire at age 70, even though most people want to retire at age 64. And that's a pretty big gap of about 6 years on average.
Wow, 6 years. And so that gap seems to hold up across generations too, right?
Yeah, exactly, Tony. Here's kind of how it breaks down. We've got the Gen Z who hopes to retire around 61, but actually expects to retire closer to age 69. Millennials say they'd like to retire at 63, but it'll actually be closer to 71. Gen X expects to retire at age 70, even though they'd prefer 65. And baby boomers, they like to call it around age 67, but most say it'll be closer to age 71 before they can retire.
Wow. And this surprises me a little bit, but so you're saying basically every generation's dream retirement age is about 6 to 8 years earlier than what they expect will be reality.
Yeah, exactly, Tony. And that just highlights how much the financial landscape has shifted. Longer lifespans, rising costs, uncertainty around Social Security and healthcare all play a part of this. But key takeaway is this: if you're thinking about delaying retirement, you're in good company.
Yeah. And it's not a sign of failure, right? I think it's a reflection of people being thoughtful, being realistic and proactive about their future.
Yep, exactly.
So before we keep going today, I think now would be a good time, Ashton, to let our listeners know how they can schedule that no charge, no obligation consultation with you. Just if they have questions for maybe building or adjusting that financial strategy to help them stay on course toward their ideal retirement. How can they get a hold of you to do that?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of us is give our office a call. 952-873-2703. Again, that number is 952-873-2703. And if it's outside business hours, leave us a voicemail. We'll give you a call back, or visit us online at pankoninfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com. Scheduling a consultation only takes a few minutes, and we're always happy to work around your schedule.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, so far you've covered who's delaying retirement. Let's get into why we might need to delay retirement, or why people are doing that.
Yeah, Tony, for some people, it's less about the numbers and more about that lifestyle or purpose. In fact, about a third of those who responded to that same F&G survey we referenced earlier said delaying retirement or even considering unretiring because they were worried about losing their sense of purpose.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense. I think after decades of working, it can be hard for some to just suddenly step away from the structure, the goals, and especially the social connections that come with having a job, right?
Yeah, I mean, going day to day, you get to talk to the same coworkers. You kind of get your routine. It's definitely hard to step away from that. And another 42% say that they simply enjoy the challenge and mental stimulation that work provides. And honestly, that's something I hear from my clients all the time. People find meaning in what they do, and they don't feel ready to give that up just yet, even if they are in a financial situation to do so.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And a lot of people are like, man, I can't wait to get out of my job. Well, you have to go into something. You have to have a purpose. And I think a lot of people's identities are more wrapped up in what they've been doing, especially by the time you reach retirement age. You've been working for a long time.
Yeah.
And you've built up a lot of relationships, et cetera. I think that's really, really important. So, and not everybody's delaying retirement because they have to. Some just generally want to keep working.
Yeah, it's true. And the biggest reason still isn't financial. Still is financial. More than half of those delaying retirement or returning to work said they're worried about their financial situation. They don't feel like they've saved enough, and they want more flexibility, especially in a volatile economy.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's completely understandable. I think the last few years have reminded everyone just how quickly things can change with the markets, but really with inflation, healthcare costs. I mean, inflation and healthcare costs are just, they're brutal right now. And especially healthcare itself has risen exponentially across the board this past year.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's going to keep going that way too, but that uncertainty makes it worth working just a little longer sometimes too. Every additional paycheck, every contribution, every month of deferred withdrawals can help strengthen that over financial position before you step into retirement.
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's true. So let's recap a bit before we move on. You talked about who's delaying retirement, why they're delaying retirement. But like most financial decisions, it's not all one-sided, right? Yeah. I think there are probably pros and cons to think about here.
Yeah, delaying retirement or even returning to work after retiring can have some real benefits, but it's not the right move for everyone. The key is to understand both sides before you decide what's best for your financial situation.
Yeah, I think that's good. So let's start with the pros.
Yeah, first, delayed Social Security benefits. So if you keep working and hold off on claiming, your benefit grows. The Social Security Administration increases your benefit by about 8% every year you delay past your full retirement age. And again, that delay or that increase is permanent there. So the second is there's more time to save. Every year you stay in the workforce is another year you contribute to your retirement accounts like your 401k, 403b, IRA, simple IRA, 457 plan. And in 2025, the contribution limits for those business retirement accounts like the 401k is $23,500, and it's $7,000 for the IRA.
Wow. And those are two great pros, big pros,
Yeah.
Social Security benefits, more time to save. And speaking of the contribution limits, if you're over 50 years old, you get those extra catch-up opportunities, right?
Yeah, you do. And again, a lot of times when you're 50 and older, the kids might be out of the house, out of college. And so you hopefully have a little more room in the budget to do this. And so we can put to work some extra contributions. So for those over 50, you can put an extra $40 or $7,500 into your 401k plan, or $1,000 extra into an IRA. And if you're between the ages of 60 to 63, you can actually contribute even more, up to $11,250 in catch-up contributions for the 401k. And that, again, that's a big advantage for folks trying to close the gap before retirement in those last few years. And then third, there's financial adaptability. When you're living on a fixed income, your flexibility is limited, but by continuing to work, you maintain that regular paycheck, which gives you more options to handle those surprise expenses or emergencies without having to dip into those savings too soon.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to do that. You don't want to start pulling from retirement accounts or savings too soon. And I think these are all strong incentives to maybe keep working a bit longer. A lot of strong pros in the pros list. But like you say, there's another side to it, right?
Yeah, right. Let's talk about a few of the cons now. One is physical and mental challenge. As we age, working full-time can be tougher, especially in careers that are physically demanding and requiring long hours or involve travel. Another is difficulty finding work later in life. If you're trying to change jobs or unretire, age discrimination can be a real barrier. According to a study by AARP, more than 2/3 of workers over age 50 have either seen or experienced age discrimination in the workplace.
Wow. Okay. That's wild. That's a tough start, but definitely something people need to keep in mind when planning.
Yeah. And another thing is their family needs. 2024 poll from the University of Michigan found that 8% of grandparents provide daily or near daily care of all grandkids. So just helping with those grandkids, and another 20% help at least once a week. So if your family depends on you in that way, going back to work might limit your availability to help out. And again, finally, there's the personal side. Many retirees dream about traveling or pursuing hobbies in the early years of retirement. And when they're younger and healthier, we call those the go-go years. And working longer can delay those plans. And in some cases, those opportunities might not come around again.
Yeah, that is a con. You might end up using some of your healthier years where you could actually do some things you want to do working and then have less time in retirement where you're healthy and can do the traveling and activities you want. And I guess it really comes down to priorities, what's most important to you right now and what you might be giving up or gaining by staying in the workforce a little longer.
Yeah, and there's no one size fits all answer, Tony. The best approach is to look at your own finances, your goals, and your lifestyle to make the decision that keeps you both comfortable and fulfilled in retirement.
Okay, so this brings us to the big question, Ashton. How does somebody actually decide whether to delay retirement or not? I mean, all this talk has been good and helpful, but how do we figure it out?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Ultimately, whether you delay retirement or even rejoin the workforce depends on your own individual financial situation, your own health, and your own interests. Again, we sit down, we run through a plan, income strategies in retirement, customized to each individual or each situation. I know this may be your only retirement that you're looking at, but I've seen hundreds of retirements for individuals. And so, it's something that you want to make sure you have a customized plan and a strategy for. So there are plenty of reasons to keep working longer than you once planned. And one of the biggest is simply that people are living longer.
Yeah, longevity really changes the math here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. 2020 report from the Census Bureau shared in the article found that from 1960 to 2017, life expectancy in the U.S. increased by about 10 years. So from roughly 69.7 years of age to 79.7 years of age. And that number just is expected to continue to rise. I always joke with clients with spare parts they're putting in people nowadays. You never know how long you're going to live, like going to the auto shop and getting the spare part there. So while life is longer, since life is longer, it might mean you have to work a little longer to sustain your income, or you might want to just stay active and engaged.
Yep. It's like I always say, the good news is we're living longer. The bad news is we're living longer.
Well, double-edged sword there.
Yeah. But again, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing decision, right? It's not just full-time work versus full-time retirement, right?
Yeah, exactly, Tony. Many retirees find a happy middle ground. Part-time work can be a great way to stay involved in your community, explore new interests, or just keep a little extra income flowing. So, for example, if you love golf, maybe you become a course marshal. Or if you love animals, you work part-time at the pet store, volunteer at a shelter. Or if you prefer more flexibility, you might freelance or independent contract, tutor, consult, babysitter, or even maybe sell some crafts online. So the key is, again, to plan early and be intentional and to think about both your emotional needs and your financial goals in retirement.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and I think this has been a terrific conversation today. But here's the deal. You don't have to worry. I'm going to do this as long as my voice holds out. Ashton, I'm going to be doing this here with you each and every week for as long as you're willing to have me.
Yep. No, for sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. So what else? Anything else before we say goodbye today?
Yeah, again, I always like to, during this time of year, let you know we do have the Medicare open enrollment happening now. So we're busy with that and also looking at next year plans for those individuals. So if you have any questions about retirement, your health insurance, your Medicare, feel free to reach out to our office. You can go to our website, pankinonfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com. Give our office a call, 952-873-2703. Again, that number is 952-873-2703. We'd love to protect your savings for you and so that you're confident about the road ahead.
All right. Thanks for that, Ashton. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of the Pankonin Financial Perspective with our host, Ashton Pankonin.
Thank you for joining us for Pankonin Financial Perspective. Don't head into retirement without a plan for both your finances and your health. For more information, contact Ashton Pankonin at Pankonin Financial Group at 952-873-2703 or visit pankoninfinancialgroup.com. Join us again soon for another episode of Pankonin Financial Perspective. Advisory services are offered by Ashton Pankonin LLC DBA Pankonin Financial Group, an investment advisor in the state of Minnesota.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.